The world woke up to a tremor, one that didn't shake the ground but sent shockwaves through the very foundations of global power. This was not a natural disaster, but a seismic shift in the balance of influence, a moment that would be remembered for generations. Breaking news flashed across every screen, every device, every corner of the globe. An unexpected new axis was forming and the world was watching in real time. In the bustling city of Tianjin, 4 leaders gathered in a summit that would redefine alliances: China, Russia, North Korea, and, to the surprise of many, India. Their flags, once symbols of separate ambitions, now flew side by side, signaling a profound and deliberate shift in the world's power structure. This was no ordinary diplomatic meeting, it was a declaration, a line drawn in the sand, a statement that the old world order was being challenged, perhaps even dismantled. Tianjin, a city once marked by foreign intervention and humiliation, now stood as a beacon of China's resurgence and ambition, its skyline glowing with new significance. The message was unmistakable. The era of Western-dominated rules and institutions was coming to an end. The old playbook was being tossed aside. For decades, the West, led by the United States, had set the agenda, shaped the treaties, and enforced the norms. But now, that monopoly on power was being openly contested. This summit was not just a meeting, it was a calculated, strategic challenge to the established order, a signal that the rules of the game were changing. The announcement sent shockwaves through Washington, Brussels, and financial markets worldwide. Investors scrambled, analysts speculated, and uncertainty rippled across continents. What would become of the treaties painstakingly negotiated since the Cold War? Would trade routes shift, alliances fracture, and the fragile peace unravel? The Tianjin summit forced every nation, every analyst to reconsider the world map, not just its borders but its very meaning and the alliances that define it. The era of unipolar US dominance, the so-called unipolar moment, was fading into history, replaced by a new, unpredictable multipolar reality. The rise of China, the resurgence of Russia, the defiance of North Korea, and India's complex, independent path have now converged, creating a force that could reshape the world. These converging currents are no longer isolated events. They have become a powerful new tide, surging across borders and ideologies. As people everywhere watch in suspense, one question echoes across the globe: will this new alliance reshape everything in its path, or will it spark new rivalries and uncertainties? The world stands at a crossroads, its future more uncertain and more intriguing than ever before. To grasp Tianjin's impact, look back at the American century. For decades, US power was unrivaled: military, economic, cultural. The dollar ruled, the Navy patrolled, Hollywood inspired, but history never ends. Cracks appeared. Wars in Iraq and Afghanistan drained the US. The 2008 financial crisis shook faith in American capitalism. Meanwhile, China's economic transformation was historic. Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine reignited hard power politics. Sanctions pushed Russia closer to China, forging a partnership of necessity. The old order was fracturing. The US-China tech rivalry deepened the divide. Beijing saw American actions as attempts to stifle its rise. China began building alternatives to US-controlled systems. The stage was set for a direct challenge. Tianjin became the theater for this new contest. The summit was political theater at its finest. On September 5, 2025, Xi Jinping welcomed Putin, Kim Jong-un, and Modi. Every handshake and statement was scrutinized. The agenda: Eurasian integration, shared security, multipolar cooperation. The real message: a new power center was here. US allies in Asia and Europe were alarmed. Russia, isolated by the West, found a natural partner in China. North Korea gained legitimacy. India's presence blurred the lines between democracy and autocracy. The Tianjin Declaration called for UN reform, alternative financial systems, and deeper cooperation. It was a direct challenge to the post-war order. Its practical impact is uncertain, but its symbolism is immense. The world took notice. A new blueprint was on the table. What unites these 4 powerful leaders, each commanding a nation with its own unique history, ambitions, and challenges? At first glance, their differences seem insurmountable: distinct cultures, political systems, and worldviews. Yet beneath the surface, a common thread weaves them together on the global stage. It isn't shared values or a common ideology that binds them. Instead, it's a mutual recognition of a shared adversary: the dominance of the United States in global affairs. Each leader, in their own way, seeks to push back against the influence and reach of American power, which they see as a barrier to their own national ambitions. For Xi Jinping, the motive is clear: He envisions a world order where China sets the rules, not the West. He wants to reshape international institutions and norms to better reflect China's interests and growing power. By building alliances and forging new partnerships, China demonstrates that it is far from isolated. Instead, it is a central player, capable of rallying others to its cause and challenging the narrative of Western unity. For Vladimir Putin, the stakes are existential. Russia's economy and technology sectors have been battered by Western sanctions, making China's market, technological support, and diplomatic backing essential for Russia's survival and continued relevance. These summits allow Putin to project an image of strength and resilience, showing the world and his own people that Russia is not isolated, but instead has powerful friends and options beyond the West. For Kim Jong-un, participation in this bloc offers something North Korea has long craved: legitimacy on the world stage. It also opens the door to potential economic relief and diplomatic support, especially in the face of ongoing international sanctions. No longer is North Korea a pariah state. By aligning with major powers, it gains new leverage and a sense of security it has rarely enjoyed. India's position is perhaps the most nuanced and complex of all. As a rising power, India seeks to maintain its strategic autonomy, refusing to be drawn fully into any single camp. Modi skillfully balances relationships with both the United States and Russia, while also managing a delicate and sometimes tense border with China. This balancing act allows India to maximize its own interests without being beholden to any one power. By joining this emerging coalition, India asserts its independence and signals to the world that it will chart its own course, guided by its own priorities. Each nation is driven by its own motives and seeks its own advantage, but together, they form a bloc that challenges the established status quo and forces the world to reconsider old alliances. This is not a coalition built on shared beliefs or ideologies, but rather on converging interests, a pragmatic partnership forged in the pursuit of power and influence. As these nations draw closer, the world must now contend with a new alignment, one that could reshape the balance of power for years to come. The Tianjin bloc is shaking the very foundations of global alliances, sending shockwaves through the corridors of power from Washington to Brussels and from Tokyo to New Delhi. This new coalition, led by China, Russia, and North Korea, is not just a diplomatic maneuver, it's a seismic shift in the world order. It directly challenges the dominance of US-led groups like NATO and the Quad, organizations that have long defined the security architecture of the West and its allies. The Tianjin bloc's emergence forces these alliances to confront uncomfortable questions about their future relevance and unity. Unlike traditional alliances built on shared values or ideologies, this bloc is about power, leverage, and rewriting the rules of engagement. It's a pragmatic partnership, focused on mutual benefit and strategic advantage, rather than common beliefs. As a new center of gravity forms, nations worldwide are being forced to make difficult choices, either to align with one side or to walk a delicate tightrope, balancing interests between competing powers. In East Asia, US allies like Japan and South Korea are growing increasingly anxious, facing new uncertainties about their security and diplomatic futures. The growing China-Russia-North Korea axis is fundamentally altering their security calculus, compelling them to rethink defense strategies and alliances. The risk of multi-front crises, accidental escalations, and a new arms race is more real than ever, as military posturing intensifies on all sides. Globally, the Tianjin Declaration threatens to fragment the world economy, disrupting trade routes, investment flows, and financial stability. Two parallel economic systems may soon emerge, one anchored by the US dollar, the other by the Chinese yuan, forcing businesses and nations to navigate a divided financial landscape. For developing nations, the new bloc offers enticing opportunities for investment, infrastructure, and political support, drawing them into its expanding sphere of influence. Western alliances now face a stark choice: adapt to this new reality, innovate their strategies, or risk sliding into irrelevance as the global balance of power shifts. The Tianjin summit has become a catalyst for strategic recalculations in capitals around the world, prompting urgent debates and new policies. The old map of global power is gone. In its place, a new one is being drawn, its borders uncertain, its alliances in flux. The world is entering truly uncharted territory, where the only certainty is change, and the future remains as foggy as the horizon ahead. Is this bloc a real alliance, or just political theater? Internal contradictions abound. China and India are rivals, not natural partners. Each member's goals diverge. Russia wants survival, China wants supremacy, North Korea wants legitimacy, India wants autonomy. Unlike NATO, this is not a deep partnership. It's a coalition of convenience, not trust. But the spectacle matters. For Xi and Putin, the summit is a propaganda victory. It projects strength and defiance to their people and the world. Perception is power in today's information wars. Still, underestimating the bloc would be a mistake. Even loose cooperation can disrupt US goals. The alliance doesn't need to be perfect, just functional enough to create persistent challenges. In geopolitics, even convenience can be dangerous. What's next? The US and its allies face a choice. Double down on alliances and containment, risking a new Cold War, or try to peel away India with incentives, fracturing the bloc. Success could isolate China and Russia. The bloc's own actions matter too. If China overreaches, it could push India closer to the West. If Russia falters in Ukraine, its value to China drops. The future may not be a simple US-China standoff. Middle powers like Turkey, Brazil, and Indonesia will play bigger roles. Alliances will be fluid based on shifting interests. The global chessboard is more complex than ever. Diplomacy will be paramount. The game has fundamentally changed. The real battlefield is economic. The US dollar has long been king, giving America global leverage. The Tianjin bloc wants alternatives, especially the Chinese yuan. China is pushing its currency and payment systems worldwide. If bloc members trade in yuan, a non-dollar zone could emerge. This would erode US financial power. The economic contest is also ideological. US free market democracy versus China's state-led model. The summit promotes the Beijing Consensus as an alternative for developing nations. The result could be a split global economy, with separate standards and supply chains. Companies may need to make two versions of everything. Costs rise, innovation slows, and globalization reverses. For ordinary people, the world could become less connected and less prosperous. The economic battle is just beginning. We stand at a turning point. The Tianjin summit could be a footnote, or the start of a new era. Is the world order truly shifting, or is this just posturing? The answer isn't clear yet. What's certain, global power is moving. The unipolar moment is over. China's rise, Russia and North Korea's defiance, and India's strategy are reshaping the chessboard. Ignoring Tianjin risks complacency. Overreacting risks panic. The truth is somewhere in between. The world isn't splitting into two camps, it's fracturing into unpredictable patterns. The US and its allies must adapt with wisdom and skill. Military, economic, and diplomatic strength all matter now. The pace of change is dizzying. The future is unwritten, and we all have a stake in it. The next chapter is being written now.